Hello, writers. Come write with me. My name is Michaela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Michaela. I'm very excited to have you on my channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today is story time, or the day of our chapter exchange. I read you a chapter, you send in a chapter. If you're writing with me and you wish to exchange chapters, then send your chapter with written permission to writewithmichaela@gmail.com. And I will post the email address at the end of the video and in the description below. I'm looking forward to reading your chapters. Excuse me. All chapters are writing prompts read on the channel, whether they are mine or another writer's work, are copyright protected material, and no one may use any part in writing their own stories. This story is PG-13, so if you're under 13 years of age, you need parental guidance. The story is in its rough draft stage, just as the last stories and writing prompts we've heard. The title of this story is Princess Emnorawyn Stygerguard. And today, we're reading chapter 34. If you would like to read along, then send to the email I stated earlier and request a PDF of the chapter. Make sure you are specific. And you can do that for any of the scripts. You can do it for vocabulary word, you can do it for writing prompt, and do it for a chapter. Now let's start. Princess Emnorawyn Stygerguard, Chapter 34, The Lion Man. Princess Emnorawyn, Prince Hadley, Commander Offerton, Stawson, and several others flew over the plains where they had buried the mother of the Lion Man. This was the third day of flying over the plains. They had scouts riding double and using their spy glasses to see farther, and they were about to give up when a spy said that he saw a commotion ahead. They glided farther east, and it seemed like a fight among the lions. "No," said the scout, "I think the Lion Man is fighting. King Sizemore showed me some books that he had brought to the refuge from the castle. The female and male lions look different." The group flew closer, and it seemed that the Lion Man was fighting a male lion. They didn't know what to do, so they circled above a few times and then started back towards home. At least now they knew about where to find the Lion Man. Wait, said the same scout. "The Lion Man is running away from the pack." Pack. Is that the right term? No. I think it was pride. Anyway, the Lion Man is running away from the group of lions. "Should we land?" Prince Hadley asked as he looked at Commander Offerton. "We could," stated Commander Offerton. "Just don't dismount." The group landed and turned their dragons to face toward where they had seen the lions. The Lion Man stopped and looked back. The lion and lionesses were not following him. He tried to catch his breath. He licked a few cuts, but then continued walking. That's when he noticed a group of dragons up ahead. Lion Man walked a little closer until he saw the white dragon. He stood up and called out, "Princess, are you on the white dragon? Why have you come?" Princess Emnorawyn glanced at the others and dismounted Stygerguard. She released a magic ball and instructed it to pick her up if she thought she was in danger. She walked before the dragons and sat on the ground. "I'm here, and we came to talk." The Lion Man looked at all the dragons and men, and then he went down on all fours and eased forward. "You are bleeding," said Princess Emnorawyn. The Lion Man glanced back over his shoulder. "It seems I bleed every day. The lions here don't accept me. I'm told that lion prides or groups Usually only have one grown male in the group, replied Princess Emnorawyn. Lion Man came a little closer, and then he laid down on the ground. King Zargarman had lots of male lions together. He was building an army, and usually kings use men for their armies, stated Princess Emnorawyn. Let me tell you why we've come, and then you can agree or disagree to help us. The Lion Man agreed to listen, and he started licking his wounds. Princess Emnorawyn told him of the things they learned and what they wanted to do. Then she asked him if he would learn to pick locks and go to King Zargarman's to release the prisoners. The Lion Man sat up more like a person, which caused everyone in the group to become more alert. But the Lion Man held out his hands. Look at my hands. And look at yours. I don't think I could learn that. I might could learn the mechanics. Is that the word you used? Yes, replied Princess Emnorawyn. Okay, I think I could learn how, but I don't think I could physically do it, stated the Lion Man. There was silence as everyone thought of their options. The Lion Man looked back over the plains. I don't belong here. I don't want to go back to King Zargarman, but as one of his first successes, he'll give me more leniency. He paused and then asked a few questions before he told how he would modify their plans. The group would have to take the plan back to their advisors and prophets before they agreed, and they discussed bringing the Lion Man home with them to clean up his wounds. Part of that discussion was how much in debt King Zargarman the Lion Man wanted it to look like. In the end, Princess Emnorawyn put him in a bubble, and they took him back to King Zargarman's kingdom, and he would go to King Zargarman's refuge from there. Before they lifted off, the Lion Man said, Princess, my mother called me Daniel. I wish for you to call me that instead of Project 1021. I will gladly call you by the name your mother gave you, replied Princess Emnorawyn. My mother named me Emnora. Most call me Princess Emnorawyn. The Wyn is an ancient term for dragon riders. The Lion Man nodded his head toward her, and they lifted off and headed south. The scout looked over his shoulder and watched the Lion Man as they flew away, and he saw the Lion Man head toward his childhood home. Once they returned home, Prince Hadley and his group went on to their refuge in Sizemore thought with King Trophamore, and they agreed to once again meet in Tal's kingdom. After all their meetings, they agreed the Lion Man could easily betray them, especially if King Zargarman offered him a reward, but it was still their best hope. Princess Emnorawyn practiced picking herself up in her magical ball several times without the metal ball the queen had given her. The locksmith in each kingdom taught several how to pick a lock. Finally, it was time to start part 1 of their plan. Princess Emnorawyn thought with the Lion Man, Daniel, I hope you receive these thoughts. If you do, please think your response. She received, I was successful at re-entering the kingdom. King Zargarman saw my wounds and thought I learned my lessons. Some lion men are willing to join me on the plains. Some are not. Some gorilla men want to know where the other gorillas are. Princess Emnorawyn thought her response of the far south, and she thought what happened when the gorilla men followed her group. Daniel could not promise that none would kill the natural animals, especially if the natural animals attacked them first. Princess Emnorawyn understood and let Daniel know they would try to arrive at dark. The dragons didn't like flying in the dark, but the moon was once again full, and the mission was important. There were 3 groups, one for each kingdom. King Trophamore's soldiers were going to King Cronus's kingdom. All three groups planned on unlocking cells, but only in King Zargarman's would they possibly know if some of the people or creatures would be willing to leave, and that was only if Daniel didn't betray them. Princess Ezeris was also now proficient with scooping up soldiers in her magical balls, so she flew with King Trofalmore's soldiers. She would not be going in, but be on a dragon behind her father, and they would stay close enough for her to magically scoop up the soldiers, but not close enough for the patrols to see them. King Lacarides' magic was soaring to levels beyond where she had been before, so she too was flying out on a dragon behind her husband. This group was flying to King Balbatos's kingdom or refuge. Prince Hadley and Commander Offerton were with Princess Emnorawyn, but Stygerguard was farther back. The patrols would spot him too easily. So King Grimes was carrying the magical ball that already contained his daughter and the other two. King Grimes held the ball close to his heart and prayed to the ancestors to bring his daughter back to him safely, and then he released the ball. Once they came out of the magical ball, Princess Emnorawyn thought to Daniel that they were there and would start unlocking the prison cells. Daniel thought in return that he hadn't spoken with the prisoners and didn't know how they felt. Commander Offerton easily led them to the cells, and their group of 7 quickly started unlocking locks. He didn't know she was thinking with Daniel. Princess Emnorawyn looked in the cells and saw the blank stares from the animal people within. She thought to Daniel that the animal people in prison didn't look alive and asked if he knew when the patrols would walk through. Daniel didn't know. Daniel looked around. He was on top of the wall because he was patrolling tonight. He hadn't understood anything about the source. He thought it was a pit of death. He counted the animal people on the wall that were willing to leave and thought of how to get the message to them and the ones not on patrol. He walked along and accidentally bumped a few of the other animal people. The other animal person would growl. The guards would shout things. Daniel was glad that they didn't seem to realize it was him or the same lion person bumping others, but then he realized that the ones he bumped were bumping others. He thought to the princess that they might have more leaving than he thought. Then the guards called shift change. Daniel thought that was perfect. After Princess Emnorawyn's group unlocked all of the prison cells, she picked up her group in the 3 magical balls, and they floated through the halls until they neared the source. When she released them, they were all crouching down, and they were all looking down the halls. Princess Emnorawyn received that it was shift change, and she quietly let the others know. They slipped in to where the pit was, and it was not nearly as big as King Cronus' source. They spread out and around the pit. They found 10 places to tie a rope, but they only had 7 people, including Princess Emnorawyn, and 7 ropes. They heard voices in the pit, but these said things like they had learned their lesson and they would be better fighters and they wouldn't eat their prey until after battle. They said that they were grateful to King Zargarman for the advantages he had given them, especially raising their status up. Princess Emnorawyn's group stayed well beyond the edge of the pit, so the blue air animal people couldn't see them. Commander Offerton gave the signal, and they all tossed their rope into the pit, and Princess Emnorawyn quickly had her magic balls pick them up. The next part of the plan was Daniel's plan, and that was that Stygerguard would fly close enough for the guards to see him, and the animal people would jump off the wall to run to him. Stygerguard would lift in the air well before any got to him. Stygerguard waited until Princess Emnorawyn thought to him that she was in King Grimes' pouch. They weren't going to risk mounting Stygerguard this time. Stygerguard flew in much closer, and several other dragons also flew with him, but they were slightly behind him. Stygerguard and the few other dragons landed, and they immediately heard shouts and horns. Then they saw animal people jumping off the high wall, and soon more were jumping off behind them. The dragons lifted off and flew back to join the others. King Rhymes and his soldiers watched swarms of animal people leap down from the wall. He thought with his daughter how they were to know those deserting from those not. Princess Emnorawyn first tried to use her magic, but she could not really tell. So she sent thoughts to Daniel with the question. Daniel thought that after a certain distance, some animal people would swerve out a bit, as if to surround the dragons. Some animal people would swerve... I'm reading the same sentence, sorry. But as if to surround the dragons. Those going straight weren't deserting, but they could get to the oak or the plain and sort it out if she accidentally scooped up the wrong ones with her magic. King Rhymes was watching the animal people below. It was scary how high they could jump, so they all flew a little higher than normal. King Rhymes signaled several about the split. They were watching the animal people run, and they were far ahead of the soldiers, especially since the soldiers didn't jump down. They went down inside and spent time opening the gate. Then after about 8 furlongs, the animal people split. King Rhymes thought it was beautiful, because it looked as though someone had done a wonderful job of coordinating things. He thought to Princess Emnorawyn. Princess Emnorawyn waited until the majority of the animal people were beyond where some split, and she sent out her magical balls to scoop them up. From her discussion with Daniel, she only had the balls pick up one animal person per ball. Daniel didn't want the animal people fighting in the balls, and he wasn't telling that part. Princess Emnorawyn was having difficulty working magic through the ball, so she was depending on her father to think things to her. He thought to her that some animal people from the center group were going out to join the outer groups, but she couldn't tell the difference. She instructed her magical balls, and the balls scooped up animals on both sides of the center group, and those animal people seemingly disappeared. King Rhymes witnessed the center group that remained paused, and then they turned back to join the men or the soldiers. King Rhymes thought this to Princess Emnorawyn. Princess Emnorawyn wanted to make the dragons and their riders invisible, but she wasn't successful through the ball. King Rhymes then thought to her that the ground was shaking again, so their group flew east. They decided with all the remaining troops out, they would head east to the plains where they buried Daniel's mother. The other two groups weren't helping animal people or mudmen, so they tied the ropes and left and started flying back to their respective kingdoms. But they did try to think to King Rhymes what the status was, and they too reported to King Rhymes that the ground shook, but it wasn't as much as last time. King Rhymes successfully fought with both King Cronte and King Trofimor, and he saw his allies catching up to his group. He also thought to Princess Emnorawyn when they were over the plains. King Rhymes and Stygerguard landed, and Princess Emnorawyn let herself and the others out of the magical balls so they could mount dragons. The dragons lifted up again before Princess Emnorawyn let the animal people out of the balls. As soon as the animal people were out of the magic balls, they growled at the animal people around them. They shouted and yelled things like, "We were tricked! Who did this to us?" and other things. Princess Emnorawyn shouted as loud as she could, "I magically enclosed you in a ball so I could bring you here. If you did not agree, I apologize and will bring you back to King Zugerman right away. Those that agree need to listen to Daniel." The animal people looked around their group. One gorilla man shouted, You are a traitor. I told King Zugerman not to trust you." Princess Emnorawyn quickly and magically scooped him up so he could not attack. The rest of the animal people just saw him disappear. Several asked, "What happened? Where did he go? Daniel motioned up. The princess said she would return any that did not want to be here. I betrayed no one. King Zargaman betrayed my mother and me long ago. Several animals started shouting things, and Princess Emnorawyn had her magical ball scooped them up. There was silence for several minutes, and then Daniel told his story about King Zargaman abandoning his mother, and the people above on dragons helping him to bury her. He pointed to the mother's grave. He told of living on the plains and not getting along with natural lions, and how he didn't know if there was enough food for them. At that, Daniel just sat down in an upright position. He remembered the princess doing that. He hoped that helped the animal people to trust him. Several others also sat down, and they started discussing things. Princess Emnorawyn shouted to Daniel that she was returning the others, and her group flew off. Once they got closer, Princess Emnorawyn went on alone on Stygerguard. She was able to make him invisible, and she magically released the animal people inside the fortress of their refuge. Then she and Stygerguard headed to their refuge. Okay, writers, that is the end of chapter 34. Leave a comment on unlocking prisons and throwing in ropes to blue air. Would you have tried that? Remember, the blue air is the source, and they want to eliminate the source. So if you would not throw ropes, what would you do? Leave a comment on Princess Emnorawyn not being able to do spells through her magical ball that she was in. Is that something she can overcome in time? Is it just she can't ever do that? So leave those comments. Leave a comment on Daniel sitting down among the animals. Do you think that was wise? Join me Tuesday for some jargon. Join me Friday for chapter 35 of Princess Emnorawyn and Stygerguard. Visit my website bymckella.com. Read some character bios. If you read some, then leave a comment on which ones you have read. All your comments will help us start conversations and build our community. Keep all comments respectful, and remember that someone else's perspective can help you with your writing. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and the bell so we can continue to write together, and other people will have a higher chance of finding this video and this channel, since your likes will push the video to a greater audience. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, please share it with them. This is McKella with Write with McKella. Bye for now.